The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Dean's Beans Organic Coffee, a locally based, worker-owned company committed to social and environmental responsibility, roasting fair trade, organic, shade-grown coffee since 1993. DeansBeans.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar in Hatfield, specializing in solar installations, battery storage, and clean energy solutions tailored to the homes and businesses of Western Massachusetts. Northeast-solar.com.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, Word Nerd Emily Brewster explores a question that we have about a modern suffix that denotes controversy as we explore the usage of gate.
But first, it's time for us to check in with our next mayor of the month, and this go-round we head next door to our last mayor, moving north from Holyoke to Easthampton and its newly elected official, Salem Derby.
We have a new monthly feature here on the Fabulous 413 called Mayor of the Month. And you are our second mayor, Mayor Salem Derby of Easthampton, as we sit in the corner office of 50 Payson in Easthampton, overlooking the beautiful, currently still mostly frozen Nashawanek Pond. But you noticed something interesting in the mayor's office here, Khalees.
Oh, there's a green wall, which means there's a pile of plants that are not in the ground, they're on the wall.
Those aren't real plants.
They're not real plants, but they kind of look real, which
Yeah.
everybody that comes in, they go, oh, are those real? And I'm like, sure. No, but it's a green wall that I made. It ended up being in my classroom for a while and hanging in my classroom just to kind of create a calming vibe. And I think that works really well for a mayor's office too.
Yeah, you have some real plants here too.
I do have a bunch of real plants, yeah. I feel like having plants in your space, not only does it help the air, but it also helps the mood.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for when you're making big decisions and having important meetings. And I think there is something to be said about the aesthetic of a space.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Do you get as many ice fishers on Nashwanetuck as there are on Perfume?
Yeah, so we have a ton of ice fishers out here, and it was funny because this winter I ended up working with the Nashawanek Pond Committee, and we drafted regulations which have never existed before for Nashawanek Pond and Lower Mill Pond because people were dropping trash and lighting fires on the ice, and we're like, wait a minute, we just need people to know there are some guardrails here.
Yeah.
And so next year we're having little signs made with these new regulations that we kind of created, just not to be overly restrictive, but just to kind of remind people that don't leave your trash on the pond.
You can still ice fish, but you can't litter.
Right. And
seems very reasonable.
And we have a lot of dual users. There's people that are out there shoveling for ice skating, and we want to make sure that if people are ice fishing, they're not creating these big piles of ice that people that are ice skating are going to trip over. That everybody should be a responsible user. So, but it's kind of funny. It's literally right out my window here, so I get to see it every day.
If people don't recall, we had you on during the campaign back in November when you were running for mayor, but you are in an interesting position because you are the newly elected mayor of Easthampton, but you had the sort of training wheels period where you got to be the mayor because you were the president of the city council. The former mayor, Nicole LaChapelle, stepped down before her term was over and became the head of Department of Conservation and Recreation. So what has materially changed for you now that you are officially the elected mayor of Easthampton as opposed to the acting mayor coming up from the city council?
As opposed to the fake mayor of... Right.
I like to call us town administrators fake mayors of their town. So I live in Montague, we don't have a mayor, we have a fake mayor, Walter Ramsey. Yeah.
So, it's real now. It was honestly the best thing that could have happened was what happened to me, which was being the interim mayor and getting a feel for what the job was and understanding that I actually possessed the skills to be able to be really effective at it. And so that was so important for me to have that period. And it also allowed me to kind of develop relationships within City Hall and to kind of nurture some of the ideas that I had to be able to kind of bring them to fruition as I started to step into the real mayorship, which I guess officially started in January. But I'm 7 or 8 months in at this point. And it's so important. For me to have that little grace period in the beginning was so helpful. And I feel like it's really kind of helped prepare me for what's coming next.
You had initially said you weren't interested in running for mayor. Then because the charter makes the city council president the mayor, if the mayor steps down, you had this period of time and were like, I kind of want to be the mayor. You were running against Lindsay Sekula, who was the mayor's executive assistant, I believe is the title. And then one of the first headlines I see when Mayor Salem Derby takes over as mayor is that position is eliminated. And now the person you were working with and running against is no longer in the office. Talk about that decision, which I felt was a little bit controversial.
Yeah, I mean, so controversial in a vacuum, I guess, because really when you think about the skills and the kind of requirements that a mayor has in someone who's going to be their right-hand person, one of the most important things is unconditional trust. And so when you go through kind of a contentious election and there are rifts that can break that veneer of trust that you need to have. And I also think if you look at elected officials across the country at every level, as they enter into their position, they're going to be expected to bring their own team to the table.
Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of people made what I consider to be a mountain out of a molehill in the fact that if Lindsay had won, she would have done the exact same thing to the position. The exact same thing.
Remove the position entirely?
Entirely.
Because it was a position that was being paid more than the actual mayor, right?
Yes, yeah. So it was, which, I mean, listen, we have a tight budget. Like I'm working on the budget right now. It's tight. I cannot, in good conscience, ask my departments to tighten the belt if I have, in just coming from my office, 2 salaries that are, significant. So I need to show some fiscal responsibility. And so really what I was able to do is I was able to do what was best for the city, because that's hands down the most important thing. With the savings I was able to kind of garner from changing that position to which is, what I have right now is amazing for me. Someone who helps me with my schedule, someone who answers phone calls, someone who is a face at City Hall from 7:30 to 5.
Evan, who was emailing with us all here.
So many emails.
Yeah. So puts out all the press releases.
And he does. And that is so helpful to have someone here until 5 o'clock every day. The mayor's office is open. Previously, the mayor's office was only open from 7:30 to 3. And I couldn't allow that status quo to continue, especially looking at the financial impact. And I was able to reduce that salary line item by a decent amount, enough to be able to support. We just took $20,000 out of that to put into, legal fees that we're experiencing. I'm looking at a part-time person in our collections department right now. We're hiring right now to help our collections. Now, I will tell you, an effective collections department that is appropriately staffed is one of the backbones of a municipal operation. Because if you're not taking in money, then it's going to be very hard to pay for anything, right? So, you have to take the personal piece out of it and say, what is the best thing for our community? What's the best thing for our city? And you know what? I understand the pushback because there was a lot of people that wanted Lindsay to be sitting where I am.
Right.
And
so the optics look like Salem Derby wasn't going to run. He runs, he wins, and he fires Lindsay Sekula.
Which is that's the very if the surface. But really, when you dig down underneath, it's actually just makes sense in every level.
Now, is it true that Evan's position, LeBeau is his last name, right? Yeah. What's the title that he has out there?
So he's my office manager. When I introduce him as the mayoral assistant.
And that salary, poor Evan, is about half of what the executive assistant was making.
Not quite, a little bit more than half, but yeah.
The Gazette reported that you offered the position to Lindsay first.
Yeah, so I did. So basically what I did was I had to modify it for what was right for the city. And, so basically saying you'd have to be here from 7:30 to 5. And the funny thing, we had talked about this previous to the election, which was we were both going to make that position one that was paid less based on the fact that we were both planning on doing a pretty robust job as working and not needing so much support. I said if this is something that you would like, then I'm happy to talk about that. And it wasn't something that she was interested in, so we moved on.
Was it fiscally irresponsible for Mayor Nicole LaChapelle to create that position in the first place?
You can answer that in a lot of different ways, and I don't want to throw the former mayor under the bus. I would say that based on the level of responsibility that she had, it was probably about right. And I think, the former mayor was probably moving on to other things and had priorities that were aligned with not doing as much of the day-to-day stuff and passing that on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. So this budget, you've had a longer time to look at the situation of Easthampton. What are some of the changes in your budget that are going to affect the people at large?
The budget is interesting because, we are only able to raise about 2.5% extra revenue because of Proposition 2.5, which makes our revenue collection model kind of challenged. Because if we're looking at other increases across the city, the school committee is going to bring the budget tonight. And I'm the first mayor, by the way, to sit in with the school budget committee to sit with them, answer questions, and be part of their budgeting process.
And the mayor is a part of the school committee in Easthampton, right?
The mayor is part of the school committee in Easthampton. So just contractual increases for staff, it's about $1 million.
What percentage of that is above last year? Do you think?
So it's about 6%.
So when the state law Proposition 2.5 says you cannot raise taxes over 2.5%, but costs go up 6%, you got a problem.
And that's only one of the costs. And so then you look at transportation, you look at out-of-district placements. So when all said and done, it's about a 9.8% increase in the overall school budget. And a lot of those are fixed. Like, I don't have any control unless I say, well, we're going to have to cut this, we're going to have to cut this. And I really would like to not do that. And then you add on top of that, one of the kind of most wild card pieces of the budget is health insurance. The fact that we run our healthcare system for profit, the fact that people, over 600,000 people go bankrupt a year because of healthcare costs.
The fact that GoFundMe is the biggest healthcare provider.
Yeah,
oh my word.
That grinds my
Healthcare
gears.
funding provider, rather.
We don't run our police for a profit. We don't run our fire for a profit or our EMS for a profit. You know why? Because those are issues of life and death. Well, tell me that healthcare is not an issue of life and death. And so we really need to get to the root of this. And really the root of this is taking the profit out of healthcare and getting to a more single payer or Medicare for all system. We already are looking at $1 million increase just this fiscal year on health insurance costs. And then we're going to look at another about 13% increase next year with increases to deductibles and increases to copays and all of these other things.
Paying more for less.
That my employees are going to have to eat, and I don't want that.
It's a Mayor of the Month segment with our second Mayor of the Month, Easthampton Mayor Salem Derby. Our first Mayor of the Month was Mayor Joshua Garcia, who is right next door, right over the hill, and came under a little fire critique-wise because he was part of, a press conference about a ballot initiative that would have called for rent control. And rent is a big deal. And in a city like Easthampton, where I don't want to play favorites, but it's kind of like the hot happening city in the valley right now.
I miss, every time I'm given an opportunity to mention how much I miss living in Easthampton, I take it. But the rents are rising. Joshua Garcia has not necessarily come out and said why he is against rent
Well, he seems to be against the ballot initiative. So
Right.
is the ballot initiative something that you support? And what is your take on how to keep rent prices down in a city that's got a lot of mojo going where rents are inevitably going to rise?
I mean, this is kind of one of the most important issues and one of the most prevalent issues since I've been mayor is rent and rising costs. And as far as the ballot initiative goes, I've been so in the weeds, getting myself established here. I haven't had a chance to really dig into it. I know that the governor came out against it. I know that my colleague across the hill, wasn't in support of it. And I think that there's probably some middle ground somewhere where I fall, which is where I feel like I would love to have some local control over out-of-town people coming in, buying up our properties, and jacking up rents for our citizens. What I don't want is there to be, because of rent control, some sort of slowdown in the production of new housing, which we know is the driver of this supply and demand paradox that we're in right now, right? One of the things I'm doing to kind of help move this forward is we have 4 pretty major projects on the horizon and working to get those done as quickly as I can. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that. So, Ferry Street, we're working at Ferry Street, the beautiful old mills. 3 and 5 have been done. So if you go over there, you're going to see these beautiful mills.
It no longer looks like a set piece from Logan's Run, which I'm a little sad about.
I know. Well, there's half of it still is, So there's, and right now we're working with an engineer to demolish the old Generation House, which is actually, I took this tour and I was in a full suit walking through this war zone, and they call it the asbestos house. And there's about twice as big as this office was a giant hydro wheel, for generating electricity. And then you walk further back, the ceiling's fallen in, there's little basements everywhere, and there's massive boilers where they brought in coal from trains, and the place was probably 200 degrees. So anyway, right now we're looking to demolish that. Once that's done, then 11 Ferry Street can start, 100 affordable housing units. And then 7 starts, and 7 is, I think it was 57 or somewhere in that neighborhood, 60 maybe, market rate units. And there's gonna be commercial there. So it's going to be this really great hub of activity for that part of, New City. And then we have the 3 schools. Ed Augustus, who is actually just left the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities as the secretary, he just left. And I had just had a conversation with him 2 weeks ago. It was him and the lieutenant governor. And I talked to them about what can we do to get these school projects moving faster.
Because you're trying to take these schools that are offline as schools and turn them into housing.
We're trying to turn them into affordable housing, and it's a great plan, and the housing is central to downtown. I mean, it's really like an amazing project, and we have a great developer that we're working with I just met with last week, and I asked, hey, what's holding this up? And really, it's in Bill Galvin's office, the Secretary of State. There are historic housing credits, which is one of those weird things. Under the Secretary of State's office, they have all these strange, like, little departments. That's one of them. And historic housing credits are notorious for taking a very long time. I'm heating these buildings all winter. I'm looking at the roofs. If these collapse, that's a big problem for us. We had sprinklers burst at Pepin School, and we had to turn off the water at the street. Like, these are not new buildings. And so the good news is the lieutenant governor was like, I want to, she's great. And she used to be a mayor in Salem, and so we have a connection.
Because you're Mayor Salem.
Because I'm Mayor Salem, right? She was the mayor of Salem. I am Mayor Salem. So, and she really understands what it's like to be on the ground, doing the work, and she's so supportive. I would say both her and the governor are really supportive. I felt that from them. That says something, when the state government is willing to work with even small cities in a pretty meaningful way. So we're working on that. And then we have 385 Main Street, which is a great partnership between Kestrel Land Trust and affordable housing. So it's going to be one of the first of its kind with like open space and trails and all this great. We actually have a meeting this afternoon for that. And I can't not mention Sierra Vista, where Tasty Top was. That is, we just got a grant. The reason why I was talking to Ed Augustus was because we had just got a grant from the state, from the EOHLC. It's the Executive Office for Housing and Livable Communities. Okay. Yeah, these are wonderful.
There's too many acronyms.
Yeah, if your acronym starting with a vowel, we're already wrong.
Yeah, right. So, so that's going to be, so we have a lot of projects. And once all those projects come online, it's really going to change the dynamic of housing in Easthampton because, we're talking hundreds of units. And, really this situation we're in right now with crazy out of control costs is a function of supply and demand.
More coming up with Easthampton Mayor Salem Derby as we hear about some of the ways the city is addressing the ongoing housing shortage, the scope of public art and performance in the wake of and pause of cultural chaos, and its current relationship with the city council.
After which, we'll look at the way we have come to identify scandals in the modern age with Word Nerd Emily Brewster and the suffix gate.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass Amherst School of Public Policy, offering in-person and online graduate programs in public policy and data analytics. Admissions now open at umass.edu/SPP.
So there has always been, I feel, an effort to keep Easthampton being like cute and artsy and community-based in a way that Northampton was unable to continue to do. And with this increase of housing, which is necessary for everybody, how do you see trying to encourage that balance so that Easthampton doesn't lose its arts community the way that Northampton did?
This is so front and center on my radar. And in fact, I don't know if you all heard, but Cultural Chaos was this really great event that we would have downtown.
And it's not happening this year.
And it's not happening this year. So when I had Pascalina, who is our ECA director, come in, who runs
Easthampton Community Arts.
Easthampton Community Arts.
Another acronym.
That starts with a vowel. And so she came in and basically started to let me know that they were probably not going to do it this year. And I was trying to...
It was because of cost, right?
Cost, and a few factors, and I'll kind of outline those, because I was like, well, we can do this. And she goes, hold on. We used to have 30 volunteers helping us run this. We're down to like 4 or 5. This literally takes our entire budget for the year, this one event. And I put in about 350 hours of my time. And so when she told me that, I was like, oh, okay, I understand. We want to get that money to artists. The good news is, about 2 weeks before she came to me with this, I had given her a proposal for a pretty robust kind of increase and acceleration of outdoor music availability in Easthampton. So what is that going to look like? well, if we can make this work, this could be very exciting. So weekly, we're going to have right at the top of the stairs, right from where we can see here at the promenade, at the pond, we're going to have a weekly concert there that is amplified. We're going to have Easthampton media come out, live stream it, record it. I see this as potentially, with the pond and the mountain in the background, being Easthampton's tiny desk.
Stay in your lane, Easthampton Mayor.
So having, something that really puts us on the map where people want to come and perform here. And we'll have right here across the street, we'll have like a little sitting area, so if you wanted to come and sit, you could watch it. But, really we want to try to maximize people going out to our restaurants, getting an ice cream at Mount Tom's and walking down and seeing like a little performance here. But that's just one of the pieces.
Is that in lieu of like Mill Pond, which was kind of trying to do the same thing?
Mill Pond is a bigger park, has a band.
And frankly, that band shell sounds great.
And so that was only phase 1. So phase 2 is we're going to look at early summer to second week of July. We're going to look at doing potentially maybe both nights, maybe a Friday and Saturday, but a weekly music, multi-genre musical performances at Millside Park. Now, when we had Mill Pond Live, that was Laudable Productions. My buddy Kyle and Cassandra put that together. Cassandra now runs Bombix, and Kyle is doing over in Holyoke, I think it used to be Gateway City Arts.
The Hope Center.
And
De La Luz.
De La Luz, yes, yeah. And so they're off to do, so I'm saying, all right, well, let's look at creating in Easthampton a mayor's music task force that helps put all this together and helps kind of identify. So looking at, multi-genre. So I was talking to someone last night about a EDM, so electronic dance music, reggae, rock. We have Grateful Dead cover band that is from Easthampton, Mind Left Body. They're amazing. And we have so many musicians in town. Bo Sasser is just like one of the best around. He's an Easthamptoner. So we're going to tap into all this amazing local talent. And I will say this, one of the cool things about being mayor is you get to meet all of the players that you kind of just don't necessarily get to meet. And I met this guy, I'll say his first name, I don't know if he wants to be disclosed, but his name is Spencer. He's a very interesting character. And his company makes modular LED screens, and they contract with Live Nation. He does, his company does the sound, lighting, and all these LED screens for the Central Park Summer Music Series. They do Good Morning America, Times Square Music Series. They literally, so he has these modular screens, and they're in Easthampton. They're on O'Neill Street. He's still small. Their slogan is people over profit, right? They are so cool. So we're talking about partnering to get sound, LED screens, and lights for these events. And him donating it to the city for us to be able to do this. And that's what this local collaboration is all about. People that love Easthampton, people that want to do good things for Easthampton, and they just come out of the woodwork and step up, So I see a potential for this summer being one of Easthampton's best music summers ever. And for me, this is easy. This is economic development. This is bringing people to this beautiful community, letting them come and shop at our stores, eat at our restaurants, go to our places that are amazing, and being able to have this great time and leaving having had such an awesome experience, right? So that's kind of my goal. Now, once the second week of July is over, we're building a new skate park. Awesome, right? Multi-wheel park.
That's already funded and all that?
It's pretty much funded. There's, a little bit funding needs to kind of still happen, but we're getting there. So we're going to move over to Daly Field. So we're going to move the summer music series over to Daly Field, which is right up here next to the high school. And back in the day, we used to have fireworks there. And it was this whole community event. You'd have people walking around with those carts with the glow sticks and the balloons and everything. We want to partner with our restaurants, our food trucks, our breweries, and all of that, and be able to have all of those things at these events. One of the things I came up with when I was putting together this mayor's music task force was the idea of, why don't we have a little artisan component to each concert, where we have our local vendors come out, almost like a farmer's market, but for goods. I don't know if you all ever went to a Dead show. I've been to a few.
You and the previous mayor.
Yeah, that's true. It is. There must be something going on there. I don't know what it is.
Something in the award-winning water of Easthampton.
It is something in the award-winning water. Yes.
Easthampton's water does win awards year after year.
Yes, it does. Yes. So, and if you ever went, you would see this area called Shakedown Street, where they have all these vendors selling tie-dyes and jewelry and all these things, right? And I was like, what a cool idea to be able to highlight some of our local artisans and craftspeople, and have an area during our shows for them to be able to showcase their goods and sell their stuff.
So you could bring it up with the John Mayer's Music Task Force.
Your body is a wonderland.
Dad and Company, huh?
Oh my God, this rabbit hole is terrible. We should fill it in.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's gonna be really great. And I will say, since we're on the topic of outdoor exciting things to do in Easthampton, now this is a long shot, so don't hold me to this, but I did submit a grant on Wednesday to have Easthampton be one of the remote viewing sites for FIFA World Cup. Oh. So there's going to be 7 games at Foxborough, and I wrote a grant through the Mass Tourism Council to bring these big screens, because it's partnering with Spencer again, to Easthampton and showcase all 7 games, which I think would be huge, because I've been talking to people, nobody knew about this. And I'm like, wow, if we could be the one in Western Mass, that would really put us on the map.
Cool.
So, I mean, who knows? Maybe every other city wrote a grant too. And
I don't
I'm
think
just
so.
in the
This
dark.
is the first time that I'm hearing that cities could apply for this.
Or that this was even going to be a thing other than something in a bar, like at the Brass Cat down the street.
And I was like, how about we get 3,000 to 5,000 people at Millside Park with all our vendors, the same kind of deal with the show, and get people to enjoy these soccer games. Like, that could be really. And I was talking to our schools yesterday, and I was like, we could have our local club soccer kids come out. We could have our soccer team come out. They could do some fundraising. That would be huge. Like, give $5 to the high school soccer team. They'd be funded for the next 10 years probably if we were able to do that. Always trying to think forward. Where am I going to save money in the budget, right? So, but it is exciting to be able to, from being a city councilor where you can have all these ideas and someone might listen to you or might not, but being able to step into the role of mayor and be able to have ideas and kind of bring them to fruition, that's the difference. It makes all the difference in the world. And I really love that about this, is you can be as creative as you want, as long as you're willing to see it through and build a coalition and build a team to help you accomplish these things. And for me, if we can accomplish even half of these things, we're going to be doing something great for Easthampton. So I will say this. This is all kind of built into another kind of initiative that I came up with when I was interim mayor, which I think can really help Easthampton. So we are developing a city app. Now, there's not a lot of cities in Western Mass that have apps. And basically, the city app, the way that I kind of designed it was to be able to be a one-stop for all the things you need Easthampton, right? So as a resident, sometimes you forget that your taxes are due. So having it on your app where it'll send you a push notification, your taxes are now due, they're due by February 2nd. And you literally can just press the button and go in and pay your taxes in the app. Like that, for me, is a huge level of convenience. Mountain Road gets closed. Like we've had to do it a few times this year.
Yes, I want an app to tell me when Mountain Road is closed.
And that is one of those types of push notifications that we would have in there to let people know that Mountain Road is closed, or there's a water main break that, on Clark Street, or whatever, all of these things. So we're moving from Code Red, which was our emergency notification system, and we're going to be bringing it into the app so we can communicate en masse to the citizens if there's a microburst. Right? Let's hope there's not. But those types of things we'll be able to let people know. But, there's a lot of potential for this, because really one of the things I think could be great is we're going to create functionality within the app to allow all the venues in Easthampton to be able to update a calendar. So if you're here, you will be able to click on what's going on, and you'll be able to say, oh, at Marigold tonight, there's this, and it costs this much. And I can click on it, get to that website, I can see what this music is like. Or there's this at Sevens, or this at New City Brewery, or this at Abandon, or this at Fort Hill. Have all the venues have a way to update that calendar. So if you are here having dinner at Casara, or Nini's, right, or Mission Taco, you can just click on that and be like, oh, sweet, there's a Led Zeppelin cover band here. Let's go check it out.
What's the timeline of getting that app rolled out?
So my IT department has been working on it for a couple months now, so we're getting close.
So you're building it internally too.
We're building it internally, yeah. Yep. And it's really gonna just mesh with our website. So our website, but how many people use websites these days, right? Like you're always kind of on your phone. Like you're not sitting at a desktop that often, like being like, oh, what's going on in Easthampton, Mm-hmm. So, but having it on your phone is gonna be really, I think, helpful. And really what I'm gonna try to do is I'll have all of our dining options on there. It's gonna be like a one-stop shop for all things Easthampton. So if you're here, even if you're just visiting, we'll have QR codes around town where you can just scan, download the app. It will tell you, like, if you're in the mood for Chinese, where you should go, like, or what your options are. And if you want to go see a show, you want to go grab a craft beer, like all of these things, I want to make as easy as possible for people that are either living here or visiting to be able to access those things.
Speaking of going out and eating and drinking and dining, you are asking the state for some more liquor licenses. While at the same time we're seeing all this amazing stuff happen in Easthampton, we're also seeing the Pulaski Club winding down. And I think it was a liquor license issue with that. Talk about the Pulaski Club and the additional liquor licenses that you're requiring.
Well, I think that the 1-2 hit of losing the VFW and the Pulaski Club, because they both kind of satisfied the same portion of the population in the same way.
Townies.
Yeah, I love
I go to the Polish clubs in my town all the time. I love those kind of clubs.
So, all right, so I'll start with Pulaski. Pulaski is, a beloved institution in Easthampton. It has been around for over 100 years. When this first hit the news, I had people calling me from as far away as California, being like, my sister got married at the Pulaski Club 60 years ago. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do to save it? Unfortunately, there's not a lot that I can do to save it. What I've done as much as I can, really, which is, so they were behind on their taxes, 3 years. And in order to get a liquor license, you need to be current with it's state law. And so somehow they were able to get their license the previous 2 years, but this year, the former licensing agent decided to revoke their license. And that happened before the election, so to be clear. And then they had to wipe their board of directors. They got a whole new board. I think they just switched presidents again. They're trying to get it together internally. I had said, hey, listen, we'll hold this liquor license for as long as we can. They're applying for it right now. So hopefully that'll all go through. We haven't coordinated with them to get them on a payment plan, but that's kind of the plan. Because I really would like to see the Pulaski stay open. How many places can you go to watch a not professional wrestling match? And it serves a very, I think, important role in our community, which is you could go get a kind of a cheap beer in the bar and play a game of pool, and it wasn't super packed.
A plate of pierogies and kielbasa.
Yeah, and it was so I really would like to see it stay. I know that there's a lot of challenges. It's tough because I imagine if they were behind in taxes with us, they're probably behind with other agencies. So there's a lot that's in play, and I'm going to do what I can to help them within the bounds that I have. Now, as far as the American Legion, that's interesting. So they'd sold it. Have you guys heard of what's going in there? It's kind of interesting.
No.
So Pause and Pivot Farm, which is Williamsburg based.
Yeah.
And they grow greens in trailers and sell them. And so what they're going to do is they're going to have I don't want to mischaracterize it, but to me it almost seems like a general store where they have local craft foods and goods, and they're going to sell the food that they grow, and then they're going to have farm to table dinners. So they kept their liquor license, and I think in the bottom there's going to be a wood shop and a little store, a wood shop store where
you can build one or more of those greenery things with
my living wall, right? so that's going to be really great.
It will be once they fill in all the potholes in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's true. That's
it's
true.
Real dangerous there right now.
It's dangerous. And back to the 8 liquor licenses, so in 2020 we had gone to the state for over quota licenses, really because at the end of the day we can accommodate more restaurants at Cottage Street, we can accommodate more restaurants on Union Street, and we can accommodate more restaurants on Main Street and in the Mills. We have a capacity. We just don't have liquor licenses. And it's just not feasible for a restaurant to open without a liquor license because a significant amount of their income comes from the markup on alcohol because food margins are so tight, especially now. So we would really love to have more restaurants come to Easthampton to create a more diverse restaurant scene and to really kind of lean into that because the restaurants that we have are absolutely amazing. And I don't want to take anything away from them, but I think the more the merrier at the end of the day. You have different culinary options, that's going to create more of a culinary scene, and if we can pull people again, and I love Northampton and I love the surrounding communities. I'm a true believer in the region advocating as a region for ourselves because I also think that rising tides will float, rise all ships, or I think that's lift all boats, something like that. And so I'm not trying to compete against Northampton, but I'm going to say, especially as it relates to music and food, I'm going to say, okay, well, how can we lift this scene? And let's hope that it comes back everywhere. Because, I grew up in Northampton going to the Iron Horse and Pearl Street, and I went to the first show at Calvin, the Dave Brubeck Quartet. Unbelievable, right? So that shaped who I am in so many ways. So while I'm going to bring a lot of that to Easthampton, I don't want to take away anything from our neighbors.
How's your relationship with the council now that your move is official as opposed to when it was temporary?
It's interesting. We have a newish council now. There's only a few veteran members. So Tamara Smith was on the council for a while, and then she left, and now she's back. So I guess we could call her a veteran. But JP is definitely veteran. Him and I were the same class. So if he hadn't run for mayor years and years ago and taken one term off, he would have been tied with me for being the longest serving city councilor besides Dan Rist. So he's been there a while. And, I would say the approach I'm taking, even though not one of those city councilors endorsed me or supported me during the election, which is fine. I mean, actually, I kind of prefer it. I don't owe anybody anything. I'm like kind of, even though that was the case, I'm trying to approach it being as collegial as possible. One of the lessons I learned early on as a city councilor in Easthampton was like, we can disagree all day long and vigorously disagree. But at the end of the day, we should be able to like look each other in the eye, shake hands, and be like, we both care about this community, and that's what unites us, right? And so while we might not always see eye to eye on everything, like I'm ready to work with them, and it seems like the feel that I'm getting is that they're ready to work with me for the most part. Sometimes things get a little interesting, but that's how it is, That's just part of the game.
It's exciting to see you in your new official role here, Mayor Salem Derby, at 50 Payson at City Hall in Easthampton. And because we have this Mayor of the Month segment, and because there are not 12 mayors in the 413, you'll see us again before the end of the year. So we'll get an update on how everything's going.
Oh, I hope so. And hopefully, maybe we can even do this at one of the shows or like one of the things that's going on.
Not one of the Dead shows.
Yeah, no. Neither of us like the Dead. Sorry, Mayor.
Oh, give me your genre. I'll make it happen.
It depends on whether or not I'm playing.
I don't know if you guys know Steve Sanderson.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of my favorite bands back in the day was the Drunk Stuntmen.
Mine too.
Right? And so I was talking to him about this because we were talking about the skate park on his show. And I was like, oh, we got to get the Drunk Stuntmen back. Like, let's do it.
You got to pull somebody back from Japan for that one. But.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, like,
he comes
around once a year, like once, twice a year.
That goes back to that kind of the music scene, which is, it has impacts and ripples. Like, we all have these amazing memories of these great bands, and I want to help people build those memories here, I think that's going to be a really cool piece of what's going on this summer, building memories.
Why did you do this to the both of us?
This is like the only Dead song I kind of groove on.
Ugh.
It's because it's disco. You know what I mean? I love disco.
Ugh. Now to see how the foibles of Nixon now influence how we describe other controversies, as senior editor at Merriam-Webster, Emily Brewster helps us explore the suffix gate.
Like Monty Belmonte's Grateful Dead gate.
Yeah, this
Shakedown Street Gate.
Oh,
You're
God.
listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
So distasteful.
I thought we would talk about gate.
Oh!
Yeah. A Khalees question.
I mean, I have them, and we have this resource here, and language is fascinating.
Sure is. So let's talk about Fab 413 Gate.
Oh, no.
Where Khalees commandeered the question asking from our listeners for Word Nerd Emily Brewster, resident wordster from Merriam-Webster, insider trading of question asking in the Word Nerd segment.
Wow. But also, I try much like in the rest of our show to ask interesting questions, and this felt like one.
Emily Brewster, resident wordster from Merriam-Webster, let's talk about the suffix gate.
Yeah, Khalees, it's a really good question. So this is the gate that we attach to words to refer to a scandal of one kind or another. And everybody knows the first gate, yes?
Yes.
Watergate.
Watergate, yes. The scandal that resulted in Richard Nixon eventually, after a long time, resigning. And Watergate refers to the office complex in Washington, D.C. that was burgled, and it was the offices of the Democratic National Committee.
Imagine if that place was named something else. It's like a hotel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complex. And
Yeah.
so there are apartments, hotels, offices.
I wonder if it was like at a Holiday Inn, if we would be like, there's a huge scandal. It's Epstein Holiday Inn.
It would be Epstein Inn, right? We would just take the tail end of it?
Yeah, because we only use the gate.
Right.
Well, I think one of the reasons that this became a productive suffix in the English language is that it was distinct. It's a one-of-a-kind destination. And so people were hearing this word Watergate, Watergate, Watergate because, it had been searched. First it was robbed and then it was searched. And that particular word was in the news, and the word was remarkable because it wasn't very familiar. It wasn't, I think we would have come up with some other name for it, for the scandal that didn't have to do with that location.
Mm-hmm.
But the location itself became shorthand because it was so directly tied in the minds of people who are learning about this scandal to that word.
A synecdoche, right?
Sure.
Where
yes.
it stands in for the whole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Oval
yeah,
Office
very
is,
well done.
the executive branch. So now Watergate is that whole scandal.
Yeah. Now, it's funny to me how quickly this caught on. Nixon actually resigned not until 1974, but we have examples of this gate suffix being used as early as 1973.
Wow. So in the midst of the scandal, people already have started taking the gate off of Watergate and attaching it to other things?
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
earliest known thing it got attached to after Watergate?
I'm not sure this is the exact earliest, but you will like this one, Monty, because it's about wine.
It's Winegate. Jesus
Yes,
did it. It's
yes.
water into Winegate.
There was a wine gate. Yes.
But did we know what the story behind Winegate was?
Well, here's the quotation from September 10th, 1973 in the publication Newsweek. Last week, the French wine industry was in ferment. Somebody's having fun here.
I love that.
Last week, the French wine industry was in ferment over the disclosure of a fraudulent scheme to peddle cheap wine as expensive Bordeaux.
Oh, I remember this. Or remember
You'll
reading
think
about
it's
this.
exaggerating to say this, but the U.S. had Watergate, and now we have our Winegate, a Bordeaux journalist told Newsweek's Seth Goldschlager.
His last name is Goldschlager. Why doesn't he cover liquor?
He probably does. Maybe he writes about all alcoholic beverages. That's perfect because it's water and wine, as we were joking about. And it's amazing how early that happened close to the actual event. That's a logical next step to use that gate.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's also really interesting that that example is from France. So not only is the Watergate scandal attached to that word, that name, that proper name so tightly very early in the United States, it's international, apparently, that association. There was another one in 1975 that was called Ice Cream Gate.
What happened here?
This one, I don't know. The ice cream is sort of masked in the quote that I have. The suspects allegedly falsified records, fed incriminating evidence through a paper shredder, and conducted a cover-up so pervasive that one investigator calls it Ice Cream Gate. I don't have the background on that particular story.
I'm surprised there's so many examples so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's another really good one. There was a U.S. representative from Pennsylvania, and his name was Daniel J. Flood.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Floodgate.
Yeah, there were accusations that surfaced in 1978 that he used his office to get money and contracts to people who paid him. And, a journalist referred to it as Floodgate.
That's funny.
I mean, why not have fun, right? And then maybe the best one, Russell Baker, who's known as a general writer, was also a columnist for the New York Times. And when that scandal involving the televangelist Jim and Tammy Faye Baker was in the news, that scandal involving sexual misconduct and misappropriation of funds, to put it nicely, he used the phrase pearly gate.
Beautiful.
So did most of these come with creative use of like newspaper writing? Is that where a lot of these come from?
Definitely, but some of that has to do with what we, at this point in time, have access to. We, and by we, I mean, researchers, including lexicographers, when we want to look at how old a particular suffix is or a form of a word, the first place to check are these newspaper databases that have examples. And so they are skewed toward the kind of evidence that we prefer, actually, right? Published, edited text.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also that journalism does offer itself to creative, playful writing in that people are, they're trying to engage an audience in something that's happening right now. And they're often under deadline and probably overtired. And, they're good writers in general.
And they can keep going back to it and publish again and publish again and publish again and use their own terminology over and over again, as opposed to, you could do it on the internet nowadays, but you might not have as big a following.
Right. But we are definitely seeing the language expanding thanks to creativity by people who are writing online. Absolutely.
And it's not as if Gate has gone away. Like, it's gotten pretty constant use since the initial Watergate.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember when it was the George Washington Bridge in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and Chris Christie apparently closed down this bridge?
Yes.
Because he was not happy with the mayor of Fort Lee. And that was called Bridgegate.
which is just kind of sounds stupid. Is it a bridge or is it a gate? Or is it a bridge with a gate on it, like sometimes lets ships pass through?
It's just a scandal.
But do you think people were really confused?
No,
Or is that
absolutely
gate
not.
suffix, that gate, we actually call it a noun combining form, but that as an entity is so well recognized and understood that I don't think it caused confusion to what was also called the Fort Lee Lane closure scandal.
Bridge gate.
Oh,
More
and then there
succinct.
was also Deflate Gate.
I
yeah.
knew you were going to bring this one up.
Yep.
I've been talking about this one a lot with my football-obsessed 12-year-old Pax, who I'm often tossing the football back and forth with. But if people forgot about what Deflategate is, remind us what Deflategate is.
Well, Tom Brady was accused of using underinflated footballs during a championship game.
Whatever feels good that day. I'm not squeezing the balls. That's not part of my process. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
In
The
what,
stupidest,
2015?
stupidest controversy I've ever heard of in my entire life. As if
Stupid because it wasn't real, or stupid because it was a stupid thing to do?
I think it wasn't real. And even if it was real, what the heck is that really? How much influence do you think a tiny little bit less air in a ball is going to get you as a quarterback in a team? Is it really going to change the outcome of a game materially because it's a tiny bit squishier?
And also, wouldn't it make it harder to catch? Like, floppier things are harder to catch.
Supposedly Brady liked his balls a little squishier because it get him a better grip on it and he can throw it a little bit better.
Some guys like them thin. Some guys like them tacky. Some guys like them brand new. Some guys like old balls. I mean, they're all different.
Overall, if it's like a pound per square inch difference or something dumb like that, you're really just gunning for the team because you're sick of their winning. But that was 10 years ago. Have there been any big gates since Deflategate?
Well, none come to mind at the moment.
Well, there's Bill Gates in the Epstein files to go back to that one. There's Gatesgate.
We've got a lot going on these days, and nothing is being called a gate, which is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Maybe a little disconcerting. It's all too serious.
It's like, or the fact that like there's just too many scandals at once for it to really register in the way that Gate is able to take a particular moment and a particular conflict and really kind of concentrate everybody's attention and opinion.
And it is nowadays. I mean, Watergate was a serious issue. It seemed like it was a huge scandal at the time when we cared about that sort of thing. The scandals that happen daily now, it seems like, put Watergate to shame. But we've seemingly used Gate kind of in a fun way since Watergate most of the time.
And my would go with Gamergate.
Oh, yeah, right.
Which was very serious.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
Not fun at all.
Talk about Gamergate.
So Gamergate was this attack of online community, primarily male, against mostly like women in the industry, and in particular 3 women in the industry: Anna Sarkeesian, Zoe Quinn, and I cannot remember the last person.
I just Googled it. Brianna Wu.
Thank you. 2 of whom were working in the industry, in games, where the male gaming community basically came after them, doxed them, posted their information online. And it started this wave that kind of like low-key continues to this day, but of misogyny in the gaming world, like just unleashed it. When those 3 folks had been trying to shine a little bit of light on how misogynistic the community was, and basically Gamergate kind of doubled down and showed everybody, yeah, it really is like that.
Yeah, they did not want to be called out, and this is kind of in the midst of the Me Too movement and things like that. And again, about 10 years ago that this was all going on.
Right. I think another challenge that the suffix, or that the combining form gate, has in today's world is that it's the withholding of the full release of the Epstein files are the big thing. And there's no morphographical way to, how would you attach it?
Bondygate.
Just Bondygate?
There's one option.
Yeah, okay. But it doesn't seem like she's all that, right? It's like it's more than that, isn't it?
It seems
I don't
like
know.
that.
I do wonder if this particular scandal is just hard to come up with a pithy term for.
And again, there's just so many scandals all at once. To try and give them all a gate suffix would kind of muddy the waters in a way that I think gate really means to like focus attention.
Yeah. Now, on a more positive suffix note, palooza gets used a lot in the same way, where it started out as one thing and now gets attached to many other things of a similar type.
It does. Yeah, Palooza is out there doing some stuff. We don't yet enter Palooza. We enter gate in the Merriam-Webster.com dictionary. We do not enter Palooza because we don't see it acting in enough different words with the same meaning that are the kinds of words that qualify for entry in our dictionaries.
Ooh.
So it gets attached to the names of events. And we don't cover proper nouns for the most part until they are so prominent in the culture that everybody would expect to find them in a dictionary. That's better suited for an encyclopedia. So we do not enter Palooza. What do you think would be the right definition for it, though, if we did?
Like a big gathering of a festival,
yeah,
a
I was gonna
music
say
festival, or a festival of some sort?
Festival of some sort.
I think that's about right, too.
Or plethora, because I've seen like Palooza being used when somebody's describing someone having a large amount of something or a large amount of some item being in one place, like a Cheesapalooza.
Right. And there was a pumpkin
Right.
palooza in South Deerfield that popped up right here. So even locally, people are using palooza. But according to Wikipedia, Lollapalooza, and I didn't really know this, I thought it was just kind of a funny made up word, but it dates from the late 19th century, early 20th century, American idiomatic phrase meaning an extraordinary or unusual thing, person, or event, an exceptional example or instance, and its earliest known use of Lollapalooza was in 1896. It also came to be used to refer to a large lollipop. So like one of those big lollipops.
Which is
a
an excessive amount of one
Lollapalooza.
thing in one place, a Lollapalooza.
Yeah, yeah.
How did we not know this? This is Lollapalooza Gate.
It's not.
Merriam-Webster does define Lollapalooza, which I didn't realize. I've never.
So not Palooza,
never
but
noticed it.
Lollapalooza is in
Yes.
there. That's very
Lollapalooza, yes.
And according to this Wikipedia entry, Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction, who started Lollapalooza, claims he heard the term in a Three Stooges short.
I believe it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which is where I learned how to speak Pig Latin.
Boy, are you umday.
Oh, you mean a mum day in pig language?
You're umday in any language.
Also, Rube Goldberg, who didn't just make those machines, he had a cartoon, Lala, that was called Lollapalooza.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, one of his cartoon characters in the 1930s.
Cool.
I like that. It's much more positive than Gates.
Yeah. You know, there are other suffixes that come to my mind when I think of this one. Well, this is also not very nice, but the term bridezilla takes the zilla from Godzilla,
Right.
and attaches it to a very stressed out person who's trying to plan the perfect event, but not being very nice about it. But again, that's not an especially productive suffix. Now, on the other hand, we've got the suffix core from hardcore, and that's been very productive. We've got like mumblecore and cottagecore and goblincore.
Yep.
I think there's something to be said about having a single syllable, and for that syllable beginning with a consonant. Those things both make it much easier, and the k and the g sound, those are both velar consonants made in the near the roof of your mouth in the back. They just attach nicely to things.
They sure do. They feel good to say.
Even though they're not saying good things.
Not
Core is
necessarily.
saying fine things.
Sometimes they're saying good things, right?
Word core right now.
Yeah, we're for it.
Oh, I also thought about burger as in nothing burger. Also not super productive, but I do feel like that's another one that's got a lot of potential, some untapped potential.
Waterburger.
I mean,
Ew.
That is gross.
Is it like, do you know about the clear cake things?
No.
Like imagining like a water burger being like a burger on using those clear rainbow water cakes as like the buns, and it just seems like a terrible idea.
Sounds like something vegan, and I'm sure it's delicious to the people who enjoy it.
I can't remember if it is or not.
Yeah. Well, thank you for walking us through this Watergate, Emily Brewster.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Oh, and just another tiny little bit of information. The word gate itself has been part of the English language for as long as the English language has existed. And it originally referred to an opening, not to something that closes an opening.
Oh.
It was the opening itself.
But then like you can see it as, when you use gate as a suffix, as an opening of information regarding some sort of scandal. Or
Yeah. I imagine in my mind the object that closes an opening first. But it's true that it isn't a very big surprise to think of it as being the thing that is the opening itself.
and lets the water through.
There you go. If you would like a gate into the English language from our word nerd, Emily Brewster, resident wordster from Merriam-Webster, on this, the last day of our fund drive, our spring our March membership drive.
Go to nepm.org or call 800-639-8850.
You can send us an email at thefab413@nepm.org. Thank you so much, Emily Brewster.
You're so very welcome, as always. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for letting me ask questions.
You can have Watergate.
I'm gonna set it straight, this Watergate.
Yes, the JBs. On the next Fabulous 413, we'll hear more about the lineup of the upcoming Back Porch Festival with founder and organizer Jim Olsen.
And even though there was no love for my Beastie Boys quote, we'll hear about faiths and foundations blending in modern ways as we speak with Sunny Singh about his Sangat project who'll play the Parlor Room on March 16th.
Plus our weekly chat with Congressman Jim McGovern. Got a question for the Congressman? Send it our way. thefab413@nepm.org. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.